What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the JT Sports Podcast. I'm your host, JT, fried and incredibly frustrated that Florida State just suffered their first loss of the season, getting upset on the road to unranked Virginia. And you may be asking, JT, why are you frustrated about Florida State losing? You're a Miami fan. You should be pouring up a shot of Don Julio, rolling up some Zaw, and throwing yourself a party because F the Seminoles, man. We play them next weekend. I understand that. And on most occasions, yes, it is F the Seminoles. But when I put money on you, my personal biases against you get set aside. Because I'm rooting for you to win. Because I wouldn't bet money on you if I didn't think you didn't have a chance to win. And nobody just wants to throw money away. So when I saw that the spread for this game was Florida State minus 7.5, I knew things were going to get weird. And I expected for Florida State to trail during this game at some point. And when that happened, I told myself I was going to take Florida State live bet money line. And Lord and behold, my lucky day, Florida State is down 14-0 early to start this game. And I'm like, yes, you're just giving me free money. You're trying to make my weekend start off perfect. You mean to tell me that Florida State's down 14-0? They're a plus 3.5 point underdog to win? And the money line odds is smacking? Of course I'm taking Florida State. And Florida State had me feeling like I made the right decision. They came right back in it. They tied the game up. It's 21-21 going into halftime. And I'm feeling pretty good about myself. And everybody's feeling pretty good about Florida State. You know, they got all the momentum. It looks like they're going to run away with the game in the second half. And it's going to be a blowout. And that's not how this thing went, man. Virginia, props off to them. This was the best game that Tony Elliott has ever coached. And this is the best game that Virginia has ever played under him. And this is a program-defining win for Tony Elliott in Virginia because he's on the hot seat. And he has yet to have a winning season and 4 seasons as Virginia's head coach. So this win shows that Virginia is going to be a problem in the ACC this year. They're just not going to be an easy win, a cakewalk W that you look at on the schedule and you say, oh, yeah, there's no chance we lose that game. No, like, Virginia looks to be a pretty solid team. But what team is Florida State now after suffering this loss? What do we make of Florida State? Because Florida State's defense was piss poor tonight. I did not expect for Tony White's defense to allow Virginia to bully them and take their lunch money the way that they did. They ran for over 256 yards on Florida State's defense. Tony White is one of the best defensive coordinators in college football. He's had a top 25 defense everywhere he's called plays on defense at. So to see Florida State's defense unable to find ways to get Virginia off the field on 3rd down and 4th down was really shocking to me. I mean, my mouth dropped. And it's not like Chandler Morris was doing anything impressive. He was not good throwing the football. As a matter of fact, Virginia was terrified to ask Chandler Morris to throw the football. Hence why he threw 3 interceptions. Seemed like every time the brother was dropping back to throw the football, you had to close your eyes and pray that it wasn't an interception if you were a fan of UVA. But thankfully enough, you didn't really need Chandler Morris to throw the football that much because anytime you called the read option, he scored a touchdown. I don't know how many times Florida State got fooled and faked out by this damn read option, but it irritated me every single time they did because every single time they didn't see the read option coming, it ended up being the touchdown. This was the worst coach game that Tony White has ever had in all his years being a defensive coordinator. Florida State, Nebraska, wherever he was at before Nebraska, he's never had a game this bad being a defensive coordinator ever. And Gus Malzahn, because we got to get on Gus Malzahn. The coordinators of Florida State were a huge reason for this upset loss. not just Tony White, but Gus Malzahn also. Now, Gus Malzahn, he was a lot better in his play calling than what Tony White was, but there were certain situations when Gus Malzahn's play calling hurt Florida State. Now, there were 2 fourth down conversions that Florida State had late in the fourth quarter. And when they had these fourth down conversions, they would run this weird little play when Tommy Castellanos would start in the shotgun. Then based on the alignment of the defense, he will go underneath center real quick. And either they'll call like a pop pass, a quick screen to a receiver or a running back or a quarterback bootleg. Now, the first time they ran this play, it worked. You caught Virginia off balance. You caught them off guard. Because, I mean, when you have such a short distance to get the first down and you're Gus Malzahn, you're known for running the football. He's throwing the football on 4th and 1. Okay, you got me. And I thought it was a pretty good play call. Now, a second fourth down attempt comes up. And Gus Malzahn runs the same little gimmicky play again. Tommy Castellanos, he starts out in shotgun, then as the play clock winds down, he quickly gets underneath center, runs like a little pop pass, a little quick screen. Well, this time, it doesn't really work because it's not really a pop pass or a quick screen. He has his receivers going out on passing concepts, but this time nobody was open, and the play ended up dying. And at that point, you thought the game was over, Virginia was going to win, but for the only time in this game, it seemed like Tony White's defense was actually able to get a stop and get the ball back to Florida State. And, of course, Florida State drives downfield, and they send the game to overtime. But overtime is when things really got dicey for Florida State. And I want y'all to be honest with me. Florida State got hold in this game. Virginia had no business getting that 2-point conversion against Florida State because, for one, Virginia had the wrong personnel on for the 2-point attempt. Initially, they had the field goal team out there. And in overtime in the second period, everybody has to go for a 2-point conversion after you score a touchdown. So why is it that the referees told Tony Elliott this and allowed him to correct this mistake along with resetting the play clock, which never should have been allowed to happen? If you put the wrong personnel on the field and you don't have enough time to change it, guess what? That's a delay of game penalty. That wasn't called on Virginia. Instead, the ACC has some kind of weird vendetta against FSU to where Virginia can put the wrong personnel on the field for a 2-point conversion and have the opportunity to correct it and get the play clock reset. But if this was Florida State, though, that would have never happened. Virginia should have never gotten that 2-point conversion. It was an atrocity and a huge failure on the ACC officials for allowing Virginia to get that, which is why Florida State should have gotten that touchdown. I don't care if the dude caught it or not. You screw Florida State out of that 2-point conversion that Virginia never should have had. So it's only right that you give Florida State the solid that you gave Virginia and give them that touchdown. It seems like every week, the rules for what a catch is and isn't seems to change. The dude has a foot in bounds and 2 hands on the effing football. It's a freaking catch. Ever since Dez Bryant caught the ball and they lied and said that he dropped it, we have never been able to truly define what a catch is and isn't. And it gets ridiculous. Every single week, a team gets screwed out of a catch because of these dumbass technicalities. Oh, you got to maintain control all the way to the ground. You got to have this foot drag down. You got to have this. You got to have that. You got to have, bro, what is a catch? Can you show me what a catch is? Can you show me a video of what a catch is and what it is not? Because right now I have no freaking clue what a catch is in football anymore. Do you guys know what a catch is in football? I thought if you caught the football with 2 hands, you bring it to the side of your body and you start towing that thing, it's a catch. I thought if you got 2 hands on the ball and you draw at least 1 foot down, it was a catch. But apparently there's just so many nuances to what makes a catch that there's just no way to figure out what it really is. I mean, seriously, it's freaking ridiculous that we can't get clear definitions of how to catch a freaking football. I mean, come on, man. And more importantly, I'm upset that Florida State got upset by Virginia, because now Miami versus Florida State doesn't have the same luster anymore. Florida football has been down for a very long time. That's why schools like Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State come into the state of Florida and they're stealing all of the blue chip talent out of FSU's, Miami's, and Florida's backyard. Because recruits want to play in big games. Recruits want to play for teams that give them an opportunity to compete for national championships, to compete for national titles, to play in big primetime games. And that's what FSU and Miami was going to be. For the first time in the entirety of my life being a Miami fan, I was hyped up for FSU versus Miami, because this was going to be the first time that I've been alive to see Miami play FSU with both programs being ranked inside of the top 10. This was going to be a huge shift for the state of Florida in football in terms of how they're viewed in the landscape of college football. Because if you had FSU versus Miami being played in prime time with both programs being in the top 10, it would be a sign that the Sunshine State is having a renaissance when it comes to college football. We haven't had the state of Florida be this good in football, at least college-wise, in a very long time. We thought the big three was going to be Florida, FSU, and Miami, and it turns out the big three is Florida, FSU, and USF. So somewhat, Florida football has returned, but not to its full glory. And even though I'm a Miami fan and I'm always rooting for the worst for Florida State, I want to see Miami beat Florida State when they're at their best. I want this game to really feel like a true rivalry game. I want FSU and Miami to actually feel like there are legit stakes involved in this thing, and it doesn't feel like that anymore with this loss that Florida State just had. Wow, man. I know that playing on the road in college football is a monster, but losing to Virginia? Gross.